Tonight, families and friends with connections to Syria and Turkey are waiting for news as rescue crews dig through rubble after massive earthquakes. Also, Premier Scott Moe was among Canada's premiers arriving in Ottawa this week, hoping to strike a deal giving them an extra $28 billion in healthcare funding. Plus, a blast from the past that's still operating. How a video store in Watrous is surviving when so many people are streaming.
But I get people from all over the place.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, February 6th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Nearly 4,000 people killed. That is the latest stunning figure after the earthquake that devastated southern Turkey and northern Syria. It struck in the middle of the night, bringing down buildings and sending people into the winter cold. Abby Kuthausen reports.
In the chaos, rescuers in Adana ask for silence as they press their ears against the rubble, listening for any survivors. Similar scenes across 10 Turkish cities as first responders race against the clock. Across the southern part of the country and northwest Syria, the magnitude 7.8 quake hit around 4 a.m. local time. It brought down thousands of buildings full of sleeping people. Some joyous moments in a long day filled with tragedy. This young girl pulled from the rubble in Kahramanmaraş, one of the worst hit areas, while this father can't contain his relief at finding his child alive. The international response came quickly. NATO says it's mobilizing support to aid member state Turkey. Turkey is not part of the European Union, but coordinates with the bloc for natural disasters.
We have mobilized more than 10 urban search and rescue teams from a number of member states.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tweeting, "The reports and images from Turkey and Syria are devastating. Canada stands ready to provide assistance." Across the border in northwest Syria, the White Helmets at work, a volunteer rescue group known for saving thousands of lives throughout the civil war. It's facing a monumental task in quake-struck, opposition-held Idlib.
It's a very difficult task for us. We need help. We need the international community to do something to help us, to support us.
Concern, too, about aid reaching those living in a conflict zone.
When it comes to humanitarian needs, we have to and we must put politics aside.
4 million people fled their homes seeking refuge here after suffering years of unrelenting airstrikes by their own government, now betrayed by the ground beneath them. Abby Kuthausen, CBC News, London.
Here in Saskatchewan, people with close ties to Syria and Turkey are worried about their loved ones. A Regina resident who lived in Turkey for 7 years says one of his closest friends lost 5 family members in the earthquake, including an infant. Fazal Kamo told CBC he's praying for the survivors, the injured, and the dead. Saskatoon resident and Syrian immigrant Rana Mustafa says she hasn't heard from her family since right after the earthquake. They were all safe at the time, but Mustafa's lost contact with them due to power and internet outages.
I'm very worried and sad because Syria doesn't need another disaster. We have already the war, we have the economic crisis nowadays, and people are already suffering. They don't have enough money to buy their food. So having more problems is very challenging.
Also in Saskatoon, Mehmet Tulbek is reminded of his own harrowing earthquake experience. Tulbek was in his home country of Turkey during the catastrophic magnitude 7.6 Izmit earthquake on August 17, 1999. More than 17,000 people were killed. Tulbek says he finds it very difficult to watch what's happening in Turkey today as the aftermath of this morning's earthquake continues. The Prime Minister did more than tweet about the disaster today. He spoke briefly with reporters in Ottawa today about the earthquake and promised Canadian assistance.
Our hearts go out to the families, the communities deeply affected by this terrible, terrible event. Canada is looking at how we can help directly and immediately, but also how we can work with the international community to be there for people who are suffering right now in the immediate and for the long term.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe is in Ottawa for the First Minister's meeting on healthcare tomorrow. The Prime Minister is expected to make the Premiers an offer. Sources tell CBC the federal government will propose a 10-year plan to fund and reform the healthcare system. The federal proposal would see new money flowing as soon as the next budget. Adam Hunter has more.
Hi, Premiers. Canada's Premiers are in Ottawa, hoping the federal government finally agrees to increase healthcare funding. They've been pushing for it for years. Currently, the federal government transfers $45 billion to provinces. The Premiers want Ottawa to up its share of the Canada Health transfer from 22% to 35%, an increase of $28 billion.
What we really want is for the federal government to participate financially as a full and fair funding partner in those investments this year and for years into the future, beyond the 10 years even that have been discussed.
Ottawa has said it pays more than the 22% and argues that tax points transferred to provinces in 1977 make their share closer to 38%. Still, sources tell CBC News that on Tuesday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will propose a 10-year funding agreement. The Finance Minister wouldn't divulge any details today.
I am certainly not going to steal the Prime Minister's thunder ahead of that meeting.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe and his colleagues have called for the money to come without strings attached. Moe says the provinces should decide how to spend it, and the money could be used to reduce surgical wait times and to help with mental health and addictions.
We don't know what's being offered yet, and so we're going to wait until tomorrow and look at what the federal government, the Prime Minister, is offering the provinces. But as I say, I think our priorities are likely closer aligned than what people realize.
A Saskatoon family doctor wants additional funding to be tied to improving primary care.
That's where I'm watching the meeting that's happening tomorrow between the premiers and the Prime Minister with sort of bated breath that, there is some sort of a large infusion of money to the provinces with the caveat that you need to reform primary care and ensure that people have access to the system in that manner.
The doctor says too many people are without a family doctor, which creates a burden on urgent care and emergency medicine. He says without a rethinking of how primary care is funded, the system won't improve. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
Sask Party MLA Mark Docherty announced he's resigning from his seat as of this Friday. He's been the MLA for Regina Coronation Park for 11 years. Docherty was first elected in 2011 and again in 2016 and 2020. He held 2 cabinet jobs and served as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. In a statement, Premier Moe thanked Docherty for his service and praised his empathy and passion. Docherty says he hopes to serve the community in new ways. A by-election will be held within 6 months to elect a new MLA for Regina Coronation Park. The manslaughter trial for a man accused in the death of his 3-month-old son is now underway in Regina. The baby's mother testified this afternoon. Alexander Kwan has more.
It was an emotional day in court on Monday as the trial of Caitlin Goodwell began. Goodwell is charged with manslaughter, accused of causing the death of his 3-month-old son, Keenan Spencer, in October 2017. A large part of Monday's testimony at Regina's Court of King's bench laid out the initial response from emergency services when Spencer was found non-responsive on the evening of October 14th. But it was the testimony of Keenan's mother, Jodeci Spencer, that saw her, multiple people in the gallery, and even the accused break down in tears. Spencer has 2 other sons with Caitlin, including one born after Keenan's death. They're no longer together. She told the judge about the first indications that something was wrong the night Keenan died. She was reading to her older son at her home when from another room, Goodwell told her that Keenan was no longer breathing. She called 911 and paramedics rushed the baby to the hospital, but he was declared dead. Police have testified that at the hospital, they documented bruising on the child's head as well as the side of his body. It was not until 2019 that Goodwell was taken into custody by Regina police and charged with manslaughter. We have yet to learn what prompted police to make that arrest. Under cross-examination, it was revealed that Spencer, the mother, was also arrested at one point, but not charged. The trial is being held in front of Justice Keith Kilback. It's scheduled to be held through the rest of the week. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
A boy charged with manslaughter in the shooting death of another child had his first court proceeding today in Regina. RCMP say the victim was under 10 years old and from the George Gordon First Nation. RCMP did not provide the age of the accused, but he does have to be at least 12 to face criminal charges. He cannot be named as per the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Mounties were called about an injured boy at a home in the community late Thursday night. Paramedics declared the child dead at the scene. The case is back in court on Thursday. SGI is boosting its support for students against drunk driving. The provincial insurer announced it will provide $85,000 in annual funding to SAD.
Thanks very much.
The group's membership dropped due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the hope is the money will help SAD's message reach more young people about safe driving choices. Some of the funding will be used for outreach to open new chapters in schools. Impaired driving is still the leading cause of deadly crashes in Saskatchewan. SGI says the 19 to 24 age group has the largest proportion of impaired drivers. That blue sky and sunshine sure is glorious, but the freeze and melt is really wreaking havoc on sidewalks in Saskatoon and across the province. It looks like the daytime melt and the overnight freeze roller coaster is going to continue this week. Ethan will have more details in your weather forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. There's a good chance you watched a movie over the weekend, and for many of us, weekends used to involve heading to the video rental store to pick up some movies. Most of those stores are long gone, thanks to the many streaming services now offered online, but there is one store still open in the town of Watrous. It's called Video Stop.
I've lasted longer than 10 years, more than 10 years longer than Blockbuster and Rogers, so there you go. Hi, my name is Earl Hayhurst. You're at Video Stop in Watrous, Saskatchewan. This is the old theater that closed in 1991, and it's been my video store since 2003. So we currently have about, well, exactly 15,615 right now. That changes every week. That's in all formats too, Blu-ray, 4K, and DVD. The majority of them are DVD, of course. Well, you bring me this box up, and all the movies are in this room here. They're all numerically numbered. I just bring it to you and away we go. That's simple as that. Still, for years and years, the most popular movie we've ever had in here is Dances with Wolves. And that, of course, started in VHS. Of course, now it went to DVD and it went to great movie. And this is kind of my section where all the movies I like, you know, the ones that people have probably never heard of, you know, for example, Over the Edge, great movie, Matt Dillon's first movie. Ed Wood, about one of the worst directors ever, but one of the best movies ever. My personal all-time favorite movie is Pulp Fiction. And I love Tarantino. Obviously, we're in Reservoir Dogs shirt today. There's the Reservoir Dogs. Well, back when video was hugely popular, like say 80s, 90s, we would get promotional material for everything, which is why everything is kind of aged. But a couple of my favorite pieces are the Pump Up the Volume, Standee, another great movie, the Blue Velvet Standee, and then there's that Empire Strikes Back poster there, which I've actually had people offer me lots of money for, which one of these days I should take. But I get people from all over the place, and like I said, in the summer when the beach is open, it's super busy. We get people from California, Oregon, plus all of Saskatchewan, like, that have cabins at the beach, and they just flock here and they all come in and love that I'm still here. Every year, oh good, you're still here. Plus we get families in here now with kids that are teenagers. They've never seen a video store. Well, they walk around like kind of stunned at what they're seeing, and they don't understand because they have no concept of it. Pretty much every year I say, oh, this might be the last year of the place, because, you know, it's not, we're struggling here, but, you know, then we have, something happens, it's okay. But like I said, I love movies. I've got the right job because I'm stubborn, because I love it, because it's cool. This is what I do, and this is where I am, and come on down.
This weather update is brought to you by the Capital Automotive Group. Trade and upgrade is on now.
And the weather's been nice enough that you could have walked to the video store if they still existed in the major cities. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. It has been so nice.
Yeah, so nice. And I know a lot of people probably frantically trying to get rid of the puddles in front of their properties, as it's just going to ice over, unfortunately, as we head through the night tonight as temperatures drop below freezing. But of course, this has just been part of a very warm trend that we have seen throughout the last little while. Here's a look at the month of January, courtesy of Environment Canada, the temperature departures from normal. And all of us across the province reporting a warmer than normal January, to no one's surprise. South and central Saskatchewan, really 2 to 3 degrees above normal. And the further north you went, the warmer it was. Uranium City, Stony Rapids, Fond du Lac, some 7+ degrees warmer than normal on the month of January in 2023. And a lot of northern locations, almost every day of January was above average. And it was a very dry January as well. Swift Current, about only at 20% of normal precipitation. That puts you at your third driest January on record. Key Lake, second driest in about 45 years. Saskatoon and Regina both reporting under half of what we would normally get in the month. Meadow Lake, the only anomaly in that, reporting more than what you normally get in the month of January. Warm temperatures likely going to be continuing. We have this stationary front draped across the province. Still some colder temperatures to the north. It's attached to this low pressure system moving through Manitoba, which brought some snow to the north. But we're looking at temperatures above zero in some locations through south and central Saskatchewan, even at this hour. 4 degrees still in Maple Creek, and much of us not much below the freezing mark. And I think through the weekend into the weekend, we're going to see this nice weather continue. That polar vortex has retreated. That's allowing that nice Pacific air to start to move in. And I think we'll get it in 2 waves, including one through the weekend. Now, we will see a little bit of messy weather as a result. This low pressure system going to be moving through the north through the night tonight and into tomorrow, bringing some snowfall. And then another low pressure system bringing some snowfall and possibly mixed precipitation through south and central Saskatchewan on Wednesday, but that'll be out of our hair by the end of the day. In terms of this system tonight, maybe a little bit of freezing rain through portions of the Churchill region. 5 to 10 centimeters possible in places like South End and Wollaston Lake and Collins Bay, and even Key Lake could see that as well. It's been a windy day in southern Saskatchewan, still in the Parkland region, some gusts, and we are going to be seeing that as we head through the next 24 to 48 hours. I think gusty conditions in southwestern and west central Saskatchewan through the night tonight. Gusty, especially in the morning in southern Saskatchewan, and the Churchill region could pick up through the afternoon. And then as that next system slides through on Wednesday, we're looking for gusts 60, maybe 70 kilometers an hour, especially in southeastern Saskatchewan as we head through Wednesday night. For Regina, we are looking for a pretty nice day again tomorrow, similar to today, mostly sunny conditions, a little bit breezy in the morning. That system moving through on Wednesday, probably about 1 to 3 centimeters. And then after that, sunshine and warm temperatures. Saskatoon, we're looking again for a pretty nice day tomorrow. Gusts in the morning up to around 40 kilometers an hour. Again, that system on Wednesday bringing through just a little bit more snow. And then really temperature, wind, sky condition wise, Sam, not much to speak of. A pretty nice week ahead.
I feel like we're in fake spring.
Yeah, I think this, what is it, full spring and then a whole bunch of other springs afterwards until we get to construction season. Is that how it works?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Visual impairment didn't stop the clatter of falling pins at Regina's Golden Mile bowling lanes. The 50th annual Media Bowling Challenge was hosted there this morning, and CBCers took part, as did Regina Mayor Sandra Masters. Each year, members of the Canadian Council of the Blind chapter of Regina take on the city's media in friendly competition. The goal is to share stories and experiences and focus attention on blindness and visual impairment. And yes, scores are kept. And over the 50 years, the blind bowlers, as they call themselves, have won 24 times. The event also kicks off White Cane Week, a yearly national initiative putting visual impairment into the spotlight. We'll be back after the break. A CBC News investigation using a secret shopper found an Edmonton car dealership breaking the law. Something, an insider says, is routine. Now, a critic is calling for better consumer protections. Erica Johnson has this Go Public report.
We're going to hit you with winterization. We're going to hit you with the admin fee. We're going to hit you with 3M.
This car salesman is lifting the curtain on sales practices he says rip off customers.
Almost like $10,000 difference to what we advertise online.
Until recently, he worked at this Kia dealership, says the owner told his sales team to ignore the law. Alberta has what's called all-in pricing legislation. A number of other provinces have it too, or similar. When a dealership advertises a car, the price must include all fees and charges, except for taxes and any financing costs. So, how many customers get that all-in price?
Zero. Not one customer. So if a customer says, hey, I don't want to pay for this stuff, we tell them in their face bluntly, well, we're not selling the car to you.
Go Public put it to the test. We sent a secret shopper in to supposedly buy this Kia car, advertised on the dealership's website for $29,000. He's told he also has to pay for paint protection, tire and rim warranties, rubber mats, and other items.
You're going to be faced with this everywhere that you go. So, legitimate ads.
Mandatory add-ons that boost the advertised price by more than $8,000.
It's not okay to force somebody to pay an extra $8,000. What they're doing, it's illegal.
This auto expert blames the regulators, says even in clear cases where dealerships have broken the rules, they don't crack down.
The laws that they have on the books, they don't force them, period. And the dealers know that.
In the past fiscal year, just 2 Alberta dealerships have had to pay back $4,000 total to customers who were overcharged. A spokesperson for the regulator said educating dealerships about the law is key. The owner of Kia West Edmonton, Amadeo Palazzo, declined an interview request, saying in a statement his dealership follows the rules. Kia Canada said it's concerned about our secret shopper findings, has contacted the dealer, but says any more detail is confidential. Meantime, the dealership has removed all advertised pricing of new cars from its website. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
Yeah, a pretty decent night through the province. A good chance to catch that full moon, which is still out there right now. We're looking at -8 at midnight in Regina. Winds dying down through the evening, mostly clear conditions. And we'll see a little bit of increasing cloudiness as we head toward the morning. Wind's going to start picking up a little bit out of the west, but temperature quite nice around -3. And we will get just below the freezing mark as we head toward the noon hour. We're looking for mostly sunny conditions. Winds picking up around 40 kilometers an hour at that point. In Saskatoon, looking for partly cloudy skies tonight around -6. Again, southwest winds going to be diminishing through the evening. Pretty similar as we head through the morning hours. Tomorrow, -2. West winds continuing, partly cloudy skies. And then we get to the noon hour, and we're looking to be right at the freezing mark. West winds, mainly sunny. That slushy roller coaster ride likely going to be continuing for a while, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, annual carnival celebrations are getting underway in Venice. The Italian city that's famous for its canals launched pre-carnival festivities with its traditional boat parade. Hundreds of brightly decorated boats carried costume characters along the city's Grand Canal. Venice Carnival, which dates back to the 11th century, returned in all its splendor this year, now that pandemic restrictions have been dropped. The historic event officially starts this coming Saturday. The 2 weeks of revelry continue until the start of Lent, a traditional Christian period of fasting prior to Easter. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.